Nintendo games. Most people have heard of them, many people have played at least one of them. There are quite a few series that they own, such as Mario, Pokemon, and The Legend of Zelda. But which one is the best? To answer that question, we'll have to do a lot of math, some guesswork, and maybe a little bit of bias. First things first, how are we going to decide which one is best? I've created a multi-step process for figuring this out, so bear with me. We have to find the average game length, rating, and sales of the games. And how will we decide which games will compete to be the best? Well, I have handpicked some games that I personally believe are Nintendo's most known series, but let me know if you can think of any more known ones than the ones I chose. The games I chose are The Legend of Zelda, Mario, Pikmin, Animal Crossing, Pokemon, Kirby, Metroid, Splatoon, and Super Smash Bros. Again, I chose these just because I personally thought they were some of the most known, so this is not for all Nintendo games, just the ones I chose. I did choose the more known games out of the series, because who really knows obscure games like Mario's Time Machine? I just personally decided which games were the more known ones, if I'd heard of them before, and factored them into the numbers. Now for the fun part. First, I defined the average length of the games. After doing about an hour of math, I came up with the following numbers. The average length of a Zelda game is about 21 hours and 45 minutes. A Mario game is about 11 hours and 50 minutes. A Pikmin game is 12 hours and 45 minutes. Animal Crossing, with by far the longest time, is 67 hours and 41 minutes. Pokemon has an average of 30 hours and 9 minutes. Kirby is about 4 hours and 53 minutes. Metroid is an average 10 hours and 40 minutes. Splatoon has an average of 7 hours and 12 minutes. And last but not least, Super Smash Bros. Has an average length of 11 hours and 14 minutes. Next up is the average rating of the games. This took me a little less time to do than the length portion, but it still took a while. Zelda has a rating of 4.5, Mario is a 4.5, Pikmin has a 4.4, Animal Crossing is a 4.5, Pokemon has a 4.4, Kirby has an astoundingly low 4.3, Metroid has a 4.4, Splatoon is a 4.5, and finally, Super Smash Bros. Has a 4.5. It is pretty easy to see a trend with these. Most of them, excluding Kirby, have a rating of 4.5, which is not bad. The final average I had defined was the average sales. This was by far the hardest part of this process because most of the numbers were pretty exact, within 100 or so. The sales were mostly recent, but there were a few from 2023 or 2022, so if you decide to do this research for yourself, you may get different numbers depending on where you look. Anyways, on to the numbers. Zelda has 6,357,162 sales, Mario has 13,337,433 sales. Pikmin has 2,150,000 sales. Animal Crossing has 15,664,000 sales. Pokemon has 16,183,684 sales. Kirby has 2,727,066 sales. Metroid has 1,698,182 sales. Platoon has 12,423,333 sales. Finally, Super Smash Bros. Has 13,444,000 sales. Quite a bit of math was used to find this all out. If you ever decide to do this by yourself, just don't factor the sales in. It became such a hassle and took me about 2 hours to find all the numbers. Now, I just realized that I haven't yet told you the criteria I'm using to rank these games. Well, let me fix that now. I want the game to be between 10 and 25 hours in length. That way, they can have a decent amount of content while not totally swamping the player with countless hours. I also want them to have a rating of 4.5 or higher. This makes sure that the majority of people who play the game like it. Finally, they must have at least 10 million sales on average, so that I can prove they are a popular game series. Anyway, that's just how I'm ranking them. Again, if you ever decide to do this, you can rank them completely differently. Finally, the part you have been watching this video for has arrived. It's time to rank the games. Astounding nobody, Kirby is dead last in ninth place. It failed all three criteria that I set. Too short, the lowest rating, and pretty low sales have all contributed to it getting last. In eighth place, we have Metroid. Metroid had the second lowest rating, as well as the absolute lowest sales. In seventh place is Pikmin. Those little, what are they? Plants? Animals? I'm too lazy to search them up now. Anyway, they had an okay playing time, but they tied for the second lowest rating and had the second lowest sales. In sixth place, we have Pokemon. They had the second longest playing time, but were about 5 hours over the mark. They tied, again, for the second lowest rating, last one, I promise, and had actually the highest amount of sales. In fifth place is Animal Crossing. They had by far the longest playtime, with a time of 67 hours and 41 minutes. It makes sense when you think about it. There's an endless amount of stuff to do in those games, and I don't even know how they found a time for it. They had a good rating and the second most amount of sales. In fourth place is The Legend of Zelda. They had the longest qualifying game time, a good rating, but they fell under in the sales area. If only more people bought Zelda games. In third place, we have Splatoon. These slippery squids had a low game time, but a good rating, and their sales did make it, even though they were close to being eliminated. In second place is Mario, with a good play length, good rating, and pretty high sales amount, but it was not quite enough to give them the win. In first place is Super Smash Bros. They had a very good game length, good rating, and the third highest sales. That took a lot of math and work to get to that conclusion. Now, if I was to rank individual games from the series, that would take a lot more time and effort. Maybe someday, but not too soon. Speaking of individual games, I wanted to share my favorite games from each series that I mentioned. They are as follows: Wind Waker, Mario Odyssey, Pikmin 3, New Horizons, Let's Go Eevee, Planet Robobop, Metroid Dread, Splatoon 2, and Smash Bros. Ultimate. An honorable mention series that I thought of including was Mario Kart, until I realized it would be pretty hard to find a reliable game length. Would it be playing all the tracks? Collecting all the kart pieces? I have no idea. It would be interesting to find out about it, though. Maybe another time. Back to the topic. It was pretty fun to research about these games. If you ever decide to do this yourself, you could always try doing different games. It could be a lot of fun. You might learn something new as well. There are a lot of unknown games that I found out about. I mean, take the Mario franchise, for example. Mario's early years preschool fun. Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. Mario is Missing. Mario Paint. And Mario Teaches Typing. These are just a few of the games from the Mario series that not a lot of people know about. If you knew all of these existed, then you must be some kind of psychic. Or the Zelda series, with titles like Freshly Picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, or Zelda's Adventure, or Link's Crossbow Training, or my personal favorites, Zelda The Wand of Gamelon, and Link The Faces of Evil. You might know some of the latter too.
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
Anyway, my point is, there's a lot I did not cover here. Again, feel free to do the research on your own. If anyone is curious about which games I chose for the numbers, I will provide them now. For some of the series, I used all the games, but there were a few where I picked and chose. Pause when you see a series, because I am not listing these all out by mouth. That's about all I can think of to say. I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe I'll do something like this again. So, uh, goodbye.